So the exam tomorrow will be similar to kind of your quizzes and a little bit towards the activities. As some of you guys may be experiencing, some of the activities aren't working 100% as well as planned. Module 4 specifically, still working on that activity and making sure it gets graded. I'm going to delete it, recreate it, and see if that solves the problem. If anyone's having problems, email me. If you get it to work, email me too. That would be nice so that I know that it's working. At the end of the day, if it stops working or I can't get it to work, then we'll just give everyone credit. I mean, those points are really just to give you credit anyways, right? Give you as many times as you need to go back and get full credit. So that doesn't mean skip it. That just means you'll get credit. So make sure you still know how to do it. So for the exam, like I said, I try to structure my quizzes and activities somewhat in a way that will at least mimic what the exam will be like. Not completely possible, but some of the questions will be the same. So we'll have some several multiple choice and true-false questions. Most students, I think, tend to not like true-false questions all that much. So there may be a handful, but I won't go too far that route. And then multiple choice, there'll be some like figures, maybe that would be kind of like that, like a labeling activity that was done, but it'll probably be more in the form of a true-false or a multiple choice question where it would say like, I've labeled this spot number one is equal to, or should say what, or something like that. Because that's kind of the best way to create these online exams. I am also known for creating questions that are, I guess some students or a lot of students may think of them as hard because they're kind of critical thinking questions. And I've tried to intersperse a few of those into these online quizzes as well. So for example, I think, I just kind of made up a scenario in one of the questions that said, a person has some type of defect in their sarcoplasmic reticulum. So what would that ultimately look like if you looked at a force curve for one of their muscle fibers? And so the idea would be, you need to know the cross-bridge cycling process. You need to know what the SR is responsible for, right? So the SR releases calcium. If it releases slower calcium, then you would need to know kind of how a delay in the amount of calcium getting onto the sarcomere to binding to the troponin C would actually have an effect. And as you would think about in that question, for example, is of course if you have a slow amount of calcium, then the number of cross-bridges that are going to be cycling at that time are going to be slow and delayed, and so therefore you're going to get kind of a very lazy low curve as opposed to kind of the normal twitch in that force. And so it'll be wise to kind of be able to think about how these questions might be done as you're studying. I know that's easier said than done, but realistically, you need to have a core base in a lot of the knowledge, and then kind of be thinking about ways to apply it, such in situations like that where I've given you that material. It's just kind of taking it one step farther. As far as where the material is going to come from, the material is going to come from lectures and the book. For the most part, I followed the book pretty closely in lectures. My job kind of in those lectures is really to kind of take what's in the book, highlight the really important things, give anecdotes that may help you remember that, and then kind of further explain something that maybe is in figures or not explained well. And then sometimes I really like finding, other pictures that don't illustrate the scenario very well. This book has its pros and cons. I'd say it's not the most, the best animated or best drawn textbook, but it's got some really great information. And my favorite part is how much exercise is really brought into this. My background has actually helped edit another textbook when I was at the University of Florida. And it was really great as a physiology textbook, but really it was just like physiology, and then like exercise kind of crammed in at the end. Whereas this textbook is really great. So we've done a lot of talking about exercise already. So I think that will be kind of how the exam will play out. Again, multiple choice, a couple true false, some type of activities where I'll maybe put a picture up, and then you'll have to answer questions from that. And then of course short answer, which I've interspersed in a little bit here. In general, tips for short answer, there's a fine line, right? The more information you can give me, the better, right? So if you know the content, I mean, spew the content and give me as much detailed information as possible. However, I've also been given grief by students because if they say something wrong, then I also count that against them. So when you're saying it, don't just write stuff because it's like maybe you got most of the answer right and then you just went on a tangent that was completely wrong. Then you'll lose points for writing a wrong answer as well. So be as detailed as possible in what you know and what is correct. So also before we go, so I didn't have any students present any questions for me. I had a small number log in kind of to see the quick video real fast, but didn't come in with questions. And so I'm guessing that a lot of you guys are slowly starting to study and going to do a lot of cramming tonight. I will be up relatively late. A&M is playing TCU and Super Regional Baseball starting at 8 tonight, so I'll probably be up relatively late. So if you have questions, send me an email. I'll do my best to check it every 30 or 45 minutes or so to be able to respond to any questions from students that they might have on activity, and we can find some way in order to kind of help you get the material, whether it's pointing you someplace in the book, me writing out an explanation, sending you somewhere on the internet, or even Zooming like this. I can use the webcam on my laptop at home. So happy to help you guys understand and learn this material as best as possible before the exam starts.